The Evil Within. A Game Audiobook. Chapter 1. The Beacon Massacre. The night hung heavy with a veil of darkness as Detective Sebastian Castellanos, Joseph Oda, and Julie Kidman pulled up to the desolate and eerie grounds of Beacon Mental Hospital. The full moon cast a pale, malevolent light on the building's grim facade, and a chilling wind whispered through the gnarled trees that surrounded the hospital. This was no ordinary crime scene. This was a place where darkness festered, and the very walls of the institution seemed to ooze malevolence. The trio cautiously approached the entrance, their flashlights cutting through the thick shadows that clung to the building like a shroud. The air was thick with the stench of blood, a scent that clawed at their senses and sent shivers down their spines. The gruesome murder they had been called to investigate had already left a trail of dread in their hearts. Stepping through the hospital's shattered glass doors, they were met with a sight that would haunt their nightmares for years to come. Beacon Mental Hospital was a charnel house, a macabre theater of death and madness. The walls were splattered with crimson, and the disfigured bodies of the staff and patients lay scattered across the cold linoleum floor like grotesque pieces of a morbid puzzle. Sebastian's heart pounded in his chest, his breath shallow and quick as his flashlight revealed the ghastly tableau before them. The once white walls seemed to have absorbed the very essence of terror. Severed limbs and mangled corpses were strewn about, as if the laws of reality themselves had been shattered. Joseph, normally unflinching in the face of horror, could only mutter, This is beyond anything I've ever seen." Julie, the enigmatic and reserved member of their team, clutched her weapon tightly, her face a mask of determined professionalism. But even she couldn't hide the unease in her eyes. As they cautiously explored the hospital's labyrinthine corridors, a sense of oppressive dread weighed down on them. The air itself seemed to pulse with malevolence, as if the very building were alive with sinister intent. Their journey through the nightmare continued, leading them deeper into the heart of the horror. They discovered more grotesque scenes of violence and death, and the twisted puzzle pieces of the crime scene seemed to hint at an unspeakable evil lurking in the shadows. But what haunted them the most was the chilling presence of Rubik, a spectral figure who seemed to appear and disappear at will, his cold, calculating eyes filled with a malevolent intelligence that transcended the boundaries of human understanding. He whispered cryptic threats and cryptic warnings, his mere presence enough to send chills down their spines. As they approached the heart of the hospital, where the source of the nightmare awaited, an inexplicable force seemed to engulf them. Reality warped and twisted, and their world collapsed in on itself. In that moment, the line between the real and the unreal shattered, and they were transported into the nightmarish world of STEM. The three detectives were left standing in a realm where the laws of reality were mere suggestions, where the boundaries of sanity and nightmare blurred into a horrific tableau of suffering. They had crossed the threshold into a waking nightmare, and there was no turning back. The Beacon Massacre had been only the beginning of a journey that would test the limits of their courage and unravel a twisted narrative that defied all reason. In this nightmarish world, survival would be their only goal, and the sinister secrets that lay hidden within the maw of Beacon Mental Hospital would soon come to light. Chapter 2. Alone in the Nightmare. As the swirling vortex of light and shadow subsided, Detective Sebastian Castellanos found himself alone in a world that defied all rationality. The once familiar halls of Beacon Mental Hospital had given way to a nightmarish and distorted labyrinth, a place where the very laws of reality had been torn asunder. Sebastian's surroundings were a grotesque parody of the hospital he had known, its architecture twisted and perverted, with walls that seemed to ooze darkness and corridors that stretched endlessly in all directions. The air was thick with an otherworldly silence, broken only by the faint, disconcerting sounds of distant whispers, and the skittering of unseen horrors. Gone was the comforting presence of Joseph Oda and Julie Kidman, his partners in the investigation. Sebastian's voice called out into the oppressive silence, but it echoed back at him as if the very space he occupied was a sentient entity, mocking his solitude. His flashlight, the feeble beacon of light in this suffocating darkness, revealed unsettling sights. The walls bore twisted, nightmarish paintings that seemed to writhe with life. Disfigured figures, grotesque distortions of humanity, were etched into the macabre canvases. The eeriness of the artwork was only surpassed by the horrors lurking just beyond his vision. As he cautiously moved through the deformed corridors, it became apparent that this world was not just a mere reflection of Beacon Mental Hospital. It was a place where the subconscious fears of those trapped within STEM had manifested into nightmarish monstrosities. The very environment seemed to pulse with malice, responding to his presence with a malevolent intent. The first of these abominations lurched forth from the darkness, its flesh a patchwork of human and inhuman elements. Its distorted features twisted into a gruesome caricature of a smile as it lunged at Sebastian, its intentions unmistakably hostile. He fought back with whatever he had. A feeling of vulnerability gnawed at him. These were not the dangers of the physical world he had known, but creatures born of the collective nightmares of those connected to STEM. Each encounter was a harrowing battle, where fear itself seemed to give these abominations strength. Sebastian soon realized that his survival hinged on not only his physical prowess, but his ability to maintain his own sanity in a world gone mad. With each disfigured foe he faced, he inched closer to comprehending the nature of this distorted reality. The very fabric of this place seemed to warp and mutate, defying all reason. He began to piece together that STEM was not merely a machine, but a realm where the boundaries of dreams and nightmares bled into a horrifying tapestry of the subconscious. Sebastian's thoughts often wandered back to Joseph and Julie, his partners, who had been alongside him in the grim reality of Beacon Mental Hospital. He couldn't help but wonder if they were lost in this same nightmarish landscape, battling their own horrors and struggling to survive. His determination to find them burned like a beacon in his heart. Alone and surrounded by the echoes of madness, Sebastian Castellanos knew that his journey into the heart of darkness had just begun, and he had no choice but to press forward, for the answers to the mysteries that shrouded this nightmare world lay ahead. Chapter 3: The Haunted. In the oppressive, nightmarish realm of STEM, Sebastian Castellanos continued his solitary journey through the twisted corridors of a world that defied explanation. Each step he took seemed to plunge him deeper into a maelstrom of madness, where the very laws of reality had no dominion. His only solace was the presence of his flashlight, a small beacon of light in the suffocating darkness. Its weak, flickering glow exposed the grotesque paintings that adorned the walls, paintings that seemed to writhe and shift as if they were living entities, trapped in an eternal torment of their own. Sebastian's heart raced with every flicker of movement, every distorted shadow that seemed to move just beyond the edge of his vision. The very air itself bore the weight of suffering, and the distant whispers that he could hear only added to the unsettling atmosphere. Yet, he pushed forward, driven by an unyielding determination to unravel the mysteries of this enigmatic nightmare. As he delved deeper into the labyrinthine nightmare, Sebastian's path led him to a chilling discovery: a group of survivors who, like him, had become trapped within this distorted reality. Their faces were etched with fear, eyes haunted by the horrors they had witnessed. They clung to one another for solace and protection, their collective strength their only defense against the abominations that lurked in the shadows. Sebastian's arrival was met with a mixture of relief and suspicion. These survivors, too, had been drawn into this hellish landscape and had seen the abominations born of their deepest fears. Together, They formed a fragile alliance, recognizing that their chances of survival were greater as a group. Theirs was a tenuous camaraderie, born out of necessity in the face of unspeakable horrors. Dr. Marcelo Jimenez, a disheveled and bewildered scientist, stepped forward as the de facto leader of this motley group. He had been a key figure in the development of STEM, the machine that connected their minds and nightmares. His knowledge of the device and its creator, Rubik, was vital to understanding their predicament. In whispered tones, Dr. Jimenez began to unravel the sinister tapestry of Rubik's involvement in this living nightmare. He spoke of Rubik's obsession with power and control, revealing that the mastermind had harnessed STEM's potential to manifest his darkest desires on an unprecedented scale. The nightmares that plague us here are the creations of a twisted mind, Dr. Jimenez explained. Rubik's presence within STEM is an ungodly force, shaping our reality to his malevolent will. To escape this nightmare, we must confront the source of our torment. The survivors listened with rapt attention, their desperation for answers mirrored in their eyes. They had entered a realm where the boundaries between reality and nightmare had blurred beyond recognition, and the only way out was to confront the very entity that held them captive. As the survivors forged ahead, they encountered nightmarish creatures and traps that tested the limits of their resolve. They fought alongside Sebastian, their collective strength growing with each battle won. In the darkness of STEM, they found a glimmer of hope, a ray of light in a world teeming with darkness. The alliance between these haunted souls marked the beginning of a tumultuous journey, one that would lead them deeper into the heart of this nightmare, where Rubik's malevolent influence held sway. As they pressed on, they knew that their destiny was inextricably entwined with the secrets of STEM, and that to survive, they must confront the horrors that lurked in the shadows of their own minds. Chapter 4: The Disappearing Act. The alliance of survivors, led by the determined Dr. Marcelo Jimenez and bolstered by the presence of Detective Sebastian Castellanos, ventured deeper into the nightmarish landscape of STEM. With each step, they faced horrors beyond imagination, their unity their only defense against the malevolent forces that lurked in the shadows. Amidst the surreal and twisted corridors of this nightmarish realm, they encountered a figure who had quickly become the center of their attention: Leslie Withers. A mysterious patient with a unique connection to STEM, Leslie held the key to their understanding of this horrifying world. Leslie had been a patient at Beacon Mental Hospital, and his involvement in the STEM project was shrouded in mystery. His very presence within STEM seemed to hold a deeper significance, and the survivors had been drawn to him as if by an unexplainable force. As Sebastian and the group advanced, Leslie Withers became a symbol of hope, a glimmer of normalcy in a world teetering on the brink of madness. His connection to STEM was an enigma, and they believed that he might be the key to escaping this nightmarish nightmare. But just as quickly as Leslie had appeared, he vanished without a trace. One moment he was with them, and the next he had become a ghost, leaving only echoes of his presence. Panic and frustration gripped the group as they realized that their potential salvation had slipped through their fingers. The disappearance of Leslie sent shockwaves through the already fragile alliance. The survivors were left with a daunting challenge: to find Leslie and uncover the truth of his connection to STEM, all while battling the ever-present horrors of this nightmarish world. The group's quest to locate Leslie became a race against time, a desperate pursuit to unravel the mysteries that bound them to this horrifying realm. Dr. Jimenez, whose knowledge of STEM was instrumental, became their guiding light, his determination unwavering. As they scoured the distorted landscape, the survivors faced a relentless barrage of monstrous entities, each one a testament to the tormented minds trapped within STEM. But the urgency of their mission kept them pushing forward, their resolve unyielding. The disappearance of Leslie Withers was a turning point in their journey, a moment that underscored the precarious nature of their existence in this nightmarish world. His enigmatic connection to STEM held the promise of answers, and the survivors were determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. In the heart of the nightmarish labyrinth, they knew that their salvation hinged on finding Leslie, and that the mysteries of STEM and the malevolent influence of Rubik were inexorably linked to his vanishing act. With their resolve steeled, they pressed forward, determined to discover the secrets that held the key to their escape from this waking nightmare. Chapter 5: Secrets of STEM. As Sebastian Castellanos and the group of survivors continued their harrowing journey through the nightmare realm of STEM, they couldn't escape the feeling that the very fabric of this distorted world held dark secrets, secrets that could unravel the mysteries of their predicament. Dr. Marcelo Jimenez, the scientist who had become their de facto guide, revealed more about the sinister purpose of STEM. With a heavy heart and a sense of urgency, he began to unveil the true nature of the machine that had ensnared their minds and led them into this living nightmare. STEM, Dr. Jimenez explained, stands for STEM System. It was conceived as a means of exploring the deepest recesses of the human mind, a machine capable of connecting individuals on a subconscious level, sharing thoughts, dreams, and fears. The doctor's words painted a bleak picture of the origins of STEM, a project that had promised to unlock the mysteries of the human psyche, but had ultimately become a malevolent force, manipulated by the insidious Rubik. Rubik, Dr. Jimenez continued, his voice filled with a mixture of fear and disgust, was the genius behind STEM. He envisioned it as a means of achieving ultimate power, of bending reality itself to his will. He saw in STEM the potential to shape the world according to his darkest desires. The survivors listened in grim silence as the truth of Rubik's involvement in STEM became increasingly clear. His lust for power and control had transformed the machine into a weapon, one that connected the minds of those trapped within, where he could manipulate their very fears and nightmares for his own malevolent purposes. The nightmarish creatures they had encountered, the distorted landscapes, and the oppressive atmosphere were all a testament to Rubik's dominion over STEM. He was the puppeteer, pulling the strings of their collective fear and torment, using it to reshape their reality in the most grotesque and horrifying ways. Rubik's presence within STEM is a poison, Dr. Jimenez continued. He has made himself a god within this nightmare, and we are but pawns in his sadistic game. To escape, we must confront Rubik and sever his hold on STEM. Sebastian's heart sank as he absorbed the weight of Dr. Jimenez's words. Their journey had taken them to the very heart of this malevolent machine, and the revelations were more horrifying than anything they could have imagined. The true nature of STEM was a twisted experiment in fear and suffering, orchestrated by a madman with aspirations of godhood. With the knowledge of STEM's sinister origins, the survivors' resolve was steeled. They knew that their only hope of escape lay in confronting Rubik, in challenging the very source of their torment. As they pressed on, the secrets of STEM and the malevolent force that held them captive became ever clearer, driving them toward a final, terrifying showdown with the mastermind behind their living nightmare. Chapter 6: A Twisted Pursuit. Determined and resolute, the group of survivors, led by Dr. Marcelo Jimenez and Detective Sebastian Castellanos, embarked on a treacherous journey into the heart of the nightmare world within STEM. Their pursuit of Rubik, the twisted mastermind behind this living nightmare, had become an obsession, the only glimmer of hope in the suffocating darkness. As they ventured deeper into the distorted landscapes of STEM, the line between reality and nightmare continued to blur. The boundaries of their own minds and fears intertwined with the malevolent influence of Rubik, creating a landscape that defied reason and sanity. Every step they took was a plunge into a surreal abyss of psychological horror. The architecture of this nightmarish realm was a manifestation of Rubik's madness, with each corridor and room seemingly designed to challenge their sanity. The walls pulsed with grotesque images that seemed to mock and taunt them. Shadows danced on the periphery of their vision, and whispers of their deepest fears echoed through the air. The survivors faced not only the relentless onslaught of monstrous creatures, but also traps that defied the laws of physics. Their very perception of reality was warped and twisted, as if the nightmare itself conspired to drive them to the brink of madness. Yet, they pressed forward, their determination unwavering. Dr. Jimenez, whose knowledge of STEM was vital, served as their guide through the labyrinthine horrors. Sebastian, the unyielding detective, led the charge, his desire to confront Rubik burning like a beacon in the dark. With each step they took, the oppressive atmosphere seemed to close in around them. The malevolent force that held STEM in its grip became a palpable presence, a sinister intelligence that sought to break their spirits and crush their resolve. As they neared the source of their torment, the survivors' own fears and insecurities began to manifest in increasingly surreal and nightmarish ways. The line between friend and foe blurred, and their own sanity was challenged as they confronted grotesque reflections of their inner demons. Their journey was fraught with peril, and each encounter was a battle not only against the nightmarish creatures, but also the darkness within themselves. The psychological horrors that assailed them threatened to erode their very identity, and the question of what was real and what was nightmare became increasingly elusive. The pursuit of Rubik had become a descent into madness, a journey that demanded not only physical prowess, but a strength of mind that transcended the boundaries of reason. The survivors knew that the final confrontation with the mastermind was inevitable, and they were willing to pay any price to escape this waking nightmare. As the group pressed on through the surreal abyss of STEM, they were driven by an unwavering determination, for they had come to understand that the line between reality and nightmare was a fragile one, and in confronting Rubik, they would test the limits of their own sanity and the very fabric of their existence. Chapter 7: The Keeper. As the group ventured deeper into the nightmarish labyrinth of STEM, they encountered horrors that challenged their very existence. The oppressive atmosphere seemed to thicken with each step, and the line between reality and nightmare continued to blur, testing their resolve in unimaginable ways. It was within this surreal landscape that Sebastian Castellanos and his fellow survivors faced a formidable adversary, a grotesque figure known as the Keeper. This nightmarish foe was unlike anything they had encountered before, a hulking behemoth with a safe for a head, a twisted embodiment of Rubik's sadistic imagination. The Keeper moved with a deliberate, lumbering gait, its massive frame looming ominously in the half-light of the nightmarish corridors. Strapped to its waist was an array of harpoons, each one a deadly instrument of destruction. The grotesque safe head was not just a gruesome decoration, it was a weapon, and its purpose was clear. The Keeper was relentless in its pursuit, a guardian of secrets and horrors that lay hidden within the surreal landscape. Its very presence struck terror into the hearts of the survivors, for it was a manifestation of their deepest fears and insecurities. The group quickly realized that the Keeper was not a foe to be underestimated. It stalked them with a methodical and unyielding determination, setting deadly traps that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Floors erupted with spikes, walls shifted to reveal hidden harpoons, and the very environment itself became a weapon in the Keeper's arsenal. Each encounter with the Keeper was a battle not only against a nightmarish adversary, but also a test of courage and ingenuity. The survivors learned to work together, to anticipate the Keeper's relentless pursuit, and to use their wits to outmaneuver and outsmart the deadly traps. The Keeper's pursuit became a twisted dance of survival, a cat and mouse game that pushed the survivors to their limits. Sebastian, whose determination had carried them this far, became a beacon of strength in the face of this relentless adversary. With each confrontation, the survivors came to understand the keeper's patterns and strategies. They learned to time their movements, to work as a team, and to confront the fear that had been instilled in them by this nightmarish foe. The battle with the keeper was a testament to their resilience and their willingness to confront the nightmares that lay hidden within themselves. It was a battle that tested not only their physical prowess, but also their mental strength, as they confronted an adversary that seemed to embody the very essence of their torment. As they faced the keeper and overcame its deadly traps, the survivors knew that their pursuit of Ruvik had become a journey of self-discovery, a descent into the darkest recesses of their own minds. The line between friend and foe, nightmare and reality, continued to blur, and they were determined to emerge from this ordeal with their sanity intact. The keeper had become a symbol of the horrors that lurked within Stem, a reflection of their own fears and insecurities. But as they overcame this nightmarish adversary, they inched closer to their final confrontation with Ruvik, the twisted mastermind behind this living nightmare, and the secrets that lay hidden in the heart of this surreal landscape. Chapter 8: The Sadist's Game. As the group of survivors pressed deeper into the nightmarish world of STEM, they found themselves faced with a new, relentless adversary known only as the Sadist. This sadistic figure embodied the very essence of cruelty, taking pleasure in tormenting those who crossed its path. It was a foe that inspired fear and revulsion in equal measure. The sadist was a towering figure, draped in a blood-soaked butcher's apron and wearing a grotesque mask. Strapped to its back was a hulking chainsaw, a weapon that gleamed with malice. Its steps were heavy and deliberate, its laughter a chilling reminder of the depravity that lurked within the mind of this nightmarish enemy. With each encounter, the sadist reveled in the sadistic game it played with the survivors. It would hunt them through the disfigured landscapes of STEM, the roar of its chainsaw serving as a constant reminder of the imminent danger. Its pursuit was relentless, and its methods were nothing short of barbaric. The sadist's game was a test of the survivors' courage and resolve. It set deadly traps, laid ambushes, and taunted them with the promise of a gruesome death. For Sebastian, who had already faced countless horrors, this adversary was a reminder of the darkness that lurked within the human soul. The survivors' bonds were tested like never before as they confronted the relentless onslaught of the sadist. Each encounter was a battle not only against a formidable enemy, but also against the fear and dread that threatened to consume them. The sadists seemed to revel in their terror, taking pleasure in their suffering. Sebastian, the unyielding detective, faced the sadist with a determination born of desperation. He knew that to survive this nightmarish game, he would need to confront not only the sadist but also the inner demons that had haunted him since the beginning of their journey. The group's unity became their greatest strength as they faced the sadist's relentless pursuit. They learned to communicate silently, to anticipate its traps, and to outmaneuver it through a combination of cunning and brute force. Their shared experiences had forged a bond that was unbreakable, and they were willing to pay any price to escape this waking nightmare. With each confrontation, the survivors inched closer to their final confrontation with Ruvik, the twisted mastermind behind this living nightmare. The sadist's sadistic game had forced them to confront their own fears and insecurities, and it had become a reflection of the darkness that lurked within the human soul. As they faced the sadist, they knew that their journey was not only a battle for survival, but a descent into the darkest recesses of their own minds. The line between reality and nightmare continued to blur, and the horrors they faced were not only external, but internal as well. The sadist's game had become a twisted metaphor for the journey they had embarked upon, a journey that demanded not only physical prowess, but a willingness to confront the darkness that lay hidden within themselves. Their final confrontation with Rubik awaited, and with it, the hope of escaping this waking nightmare and leaving behind the malevolent force that had held them captive for so long. Chapter 9: The Asylum's Heart. With every step through the nightmarish landscapes of STEM, the group of survivors, led by the indomitable detective Sebastian Castellanos, inched closer to the heart of Beacon Mental Hospital. Their pursuit of Rubik, the malevolent mastermind behind this living nightmare, had become a relentless odyssey, a journey that demanded not only physical endurance, but an unwavering will to uncover the truth. The heart of the hospital was a place of unspeakable horrors, where the boundaries of reality and nightmare had eroded completely. The walls seemed to pulse with malevolence, and the air itself was thick with the stench of fear and suffering. It was within this grotesque labyrinth that they would uncover a revelation that would change the course of their desperate quest. As they ventured deeper, the survivors were haunted by the knowledge that Rubik's presence within STEM was an ungodly force, a malevolent entity that sought to reshape their reality according to his darkest desires. Dr. Marcelo Jimenez had laid bare the sinister purpose of the STEM machine, revealing it as a weapon of ultimate power, a device that connected the minds of those trapped within and allowed Rubik to manipulate their deepest fears and nightmares. The survivors had come to understand that the nightmares they faced were not just random horrors, but a deliberate orchestration of Rubik's mad ambitions. The very environment they navigated was a twisted experiment in fear and suffering, a reflection of the malevolent force that held them captive. Within the heart of Beacon Mental Hospital, a nightmarish revelation awaited. The survivors, driven by the need to uncover the truth and confront their tormentor, pressed forward into the heart of this surreal landscape. There, they discovered the twisted experiments that had taken place within the asylum's walls. Gruesome operating theaters, grotesque laboratories, and the tortured remnants of those who had been subjected to Rubik's sadistic desires were laid bare. It became clear that the true purpose of STEM was not just to explore the depths of the human mind, but to bend the very fabric of reality to Rubik's malevolent will. The survivors, led by Sebastian, found themselves standing at a crossroads. The revelation of Rubik's depravity and the grotesque experiments that had taken place within the asylum's heart left them with a chilling choice. To confront Rubik head-on, to challenge the source of their torment, meant a battle of unimaginable proportions, a confrontation with a madman who had harnessed the very essence of their fears. Sebastian's mind churned with the weight of the decision. His journey had already cost him so much, and the horrors he had witnessed were etched deep into his psyche. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, and the desire for escape battled with the need for closure. The survivors were left with a choice that would define the outcome of their desperate quest. The heart of Beacon Mental Hospital held the answers they sought, but it was also the crucible in which their final confrontation with Rubik would take place. As they faced the malevolent force that had held them captive, they knew that their decision would shape their destiny and determine whether they could escape this waking nightmare. The battle for survival had reached its climax, and the ultimate revelation of Rubik's mad ambitions awaited, a truth that would test the limits of their courage and sanity. Chapter 10: The Final Confrontation. The group of survivors, led by Detective Sebastian Castellanos, had reached the culmination of their nightmarish odyssey within STEM. The heart of Beacon Mental Hospital lay before them, and with it, the malevolent force that had held them captive in a twisted reality. The time had come for the climactic showdown, the final confrontation with Rubik, the sadistic mastermind behind their living nightmare. The atmosphere within the heart of the hospital was suffocating, with the very air pulsating with a sense of dread. The walls seemed to bear witness to the horrors that had unfolded within, as grotesque paintings and nightmarish imagery leered from every corner. The world around them had become a nightmarish maze of horrors, a testament to the depths of Rubik's madness. As they ventured deeper into this surreal labyrinth, the survivors encountered obstacles and horrors that tested their resolve. Nightmarish creatures, deadly traps, and an oppressive atmosphere sought to break their spirits, but their unity and determination remained unshaken. The final confrontation with Rubik was a battle on multiple fronts, a journey through a nightmarish landscape that defied reason and sanity. Rubik's sadistic influence was pervasive, shaping the environment and challenging their very perceptions of reality. Sebastian, the unyielding detective, stood at the forefront of the group, his resolve unwavering. With each step, he moved closer to the source of his torment, his desire for closure burning like a beacon in the darkness. The battle with Rubik was a test of their strength, their determination, and their willingness to confront the horrors that lurked within themselves. The line between reality and nightmare became increasingly blurred as they confronted not only the malevolent force that held them captive, but also the darkness that had haunted their own minds. The final showdown with Rubik was a descent into madness, a journey through the depths of their own fears and insecurities. The surreal landscape was a reflection of their inner demons, and each encounter with Rubik challenged not only their physical prowess, but their mental fortitude. With each battle won, the survivors inched closer to the truth and the final revelation that would shape the outcome of their desperate quest. The fate of all those trapped within STEM hung in the balance, and the ultimate truth of Rubik's mad ambitions awaited. As the group reached the end of their terrifying journey, the very fabric of reality seemed to unravel before their eyes. The malevolent force of Rubik's madness was laid bare, and the survivors were left with a chilling truth that tested the limits of their courage and sanity. The final confrontation with Rubik was a battle for their very existence, a struggle to escape the waking nightmare that had held them captive for so long. With their resolve steeled, they pressed forward, determined to uncover the ultimate revelation and confront the malevolent force that had shaped their torment. In the heart of Beacon Mental Hospital, the survivors faced a final, terrifying truth, a revelation that would define their destiny and determine whether they could escape the clutches of Rubik's madness. The battle for survival had reached its climax, and their courage and determination would be tested one last time in the ultimate showdown with the mastermind behind their living nightmare. Hey there, fellow fiction enthusiasts! I hope you've been enjoying the audio stories on Muted Gamer Fiction as much as I've loved bringing them to you. Your support means the world to me, and today, I've got a small request for you. If you've been relishing these audiobooks and fan fiction tales, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment, and, of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Your likes, comments, and subscriptions are like fuel to my storytelling fire, and they keep this channel going strong. I'd also love to hear from you. Whether you've got a particular fan fiction suggestion you're dying to share, or simply want to say hi, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. This channel is a community of like-minded fans, and your input is incredibly valuable. So, thank you once again for being a part of Muted Gamer Fiction. Keep those headphones on, immerse yourself in our stories, and let's continue this exciting journey together. Your support keeps the stories coming, and I can't wait to see what fan fiction ideas you have in mind. Happy listening, and remember to hit those like, comment, and subscribe buttons. See you in the next chapter.